Coming to you once again on the Scent Podcast, Steve Splonskowski along with
Brad Gray.
And we have guests joining us today, Phill and Laurie Kraemer. Thank you for stopping in.
Welcome, guys.
For having us. Okay. So we're celebrating here now is Adoption Awareness Month in November.
Yeah, 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
Yep.
So pretty excited about that. And of course, Phill and Laurie, you've had extensive experience with adoption, many years working with that. So just tell us just a little bit about yourself to start off our story here.
Okay.
I guess you're supposed to go first, Phill. That's what I read.
We've been married for 43 plus years now, and we met at NDSU at the Newman Center many, many years ago, and then took a job up in Grand Forks and moved up there in '82 and have been there ever since. Just recently retired, and Laurie retired from homeschooling now too. So we're both officially retired.
To both of you, yes.
That. So, but 43 years. We have 7 children, 5 biological and 2 adopted. And we've also had 2 miscarriages in there too. So we've had kind of the total experience. I guess God did that to us so that we could really relate to a lot of people in the situations that they encounter and they go through. So, and right now we have 11 grandchildren throughout the state of North Dakota.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And
one of our grandchildren's adopted.
Okay.
Oh, very good.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And we do have 4 other nieces who are adopted in our relationship too. So, so it would have thought 40 some years ago or whatever that we would be in this situation that we are. It's God led us in a different direction than we thought we might be going. So,
So, Laurie, tell us a little bit about the adoption process and then your experience with adoption. I mean, how did you even get started in that?
Okay. I would say the doors, or we became interested in it through friends that were adopting. And then we suffered a couple of miscarriages around our youngest. And he was so alone in the family, or seemed so alone. So one day Phill just said, well, maybe we should adopt. And I looked at him like he had marbles in his head. But then I told the kids, I said, Dad thinks we should adopt. And I'm just chortling, you know. And they go, well, could we? And I went, could we? Anyway, so then we, I guess, talked with our friends who had they were looking into it. They hadn't actually adopted from China, but we started looking into it. We asked questions about domestic adoption, but we were told that it might be kind of tricky because we already had 5 children. That if we wanted to do a sibling group or special needs or foster adopt, all of those things, it would be a lot easier. As a homeschooling mom who is already really busy, I wasn't sure about all of those options. They all seemed daunting. And maybe beyond what I thought myself could do, that I didn't necessarily feel God was calling me to that as a mom. And so I kind of pushed for just one child who was hopefully reasonably healthy, that would come into our home as right away you adopt and then you just move forward. That seemed like something that I could do. The rest all seemed more than I could do.
So now you guys adopted internationally then?
We adopted internationally. Okay. Yep, our daughters are from China.
Okay.
And we did one at a time. Our Marie was adopted in 2003, and she was 1 when we adopted her. It was quite the experience because she was adopted during SARS.
Oh.
So all the hype, we had her picture, we had everything finished after it took almost 3 years of unbelievable numbers of fingerprints and about a pound of paperwork that went all over the world. After all that, we got a call saying that adoption was shut down completely. We had her picture, we had everything.
Oh, man.
We were ready to get our travel approval. And, it made it sound like, all the babies were going to die before we ever got there. It was terrible. Oh. But we persevered, and about, I think it was nearly 2 months later, it opened up. We were able to travel. From when they called us to when we went was 1 week.
Mm.
So it was a whirlwind getting
Wow.
ready, because we didn't, yeah, we forgot some things.
Mhm.
It was
And you,
quite-
you flew over
there's-
there.
we flew over there. We were just, I mean, we had 5 kids at home, you know,
Yeah.
and our daughter was getting married. So I'd actually thrown myself,
Oh my goodness.
our oldest was getting married. So I'd actually thrown myself into that. I went, okay, we've made it through graduation this is Father Matthew, graduated twice actually, because we didn't know if we were going to China or not. So then we got ready to fly really fast, dropped the wedding planning for the moment, and went over to China.
Wow.
During
There's
SARS.
so much
Mhm.
involved in adoption. My wife and I were pursuing the process of international adoption from the Philippines for about a year and a half. And I don't think you have any concept when you begin the process how incredibly involved this is. And also my brother and sister-in-law adopted a little girl from China as well, who's now, I think she's 13 or 14, Jade. But yeah, I know for us, like pregnancy for a lot of women is really rough. My wife, when we had our oldest, she was very, very sick the whole way through, all 9 months, was 11 pounds lighter when she was full term than she was when she first got pregnant. But I think we didn't have any concept of how almost much more laborious and grueling it is to go through the process of adoption. But there's so much encouragement and excitement along the way. So for you guys, as you're looking at this possibility of like, could we adopt? What were there any kind of internal struggles in coming to that point, or was it kind of like something as soon as the idea landed, it's like, let's do this, and then along the way it kind of kept that? Because I've also got friends that have been in the process of adopting, and there are a lot of hurdles, and you kind of hit different emotional points in that process. What was it like for you guys going through the whole process?
Yeah, the excitement's there.
Yeah.
You know, because hey, you're expecting, okay, but it's not a 9 months of expecting.
Right.
When it takes more than 9 months, you're going, wow, are we ever going to get through this?
Yeah.
You know, but then to get receive the picture for Marie that we got, a little girl that finally got the referral or whatnot, and partway through the process too, you almost kind of feel like you're under the gun, you're being scrutinized, and you know, am I good enough? Am I whatever,
totally.
you know. You know, and the money outlay, there's some money outlay there
Yes.
too. You're going, almost like I'm buying a child, but no, not really. So you kind of get past that too. Okay. So it's more than a 9-month process, at least for us anyway, especially international. And, you know, and totally unsure really of what we're going to get, you know. Very interesting thing that I thought was really cool. You know, we sat there with one of the orphanage directors, and through the interpreter asked us, okay, so we send over all this paperwork and we send a family picture and we send all this. And they said, how do you finally make the decision on which child goes with which family? Because there was a lot of families adopting at that time when we did Marie. And she said, well, we look and how many children are available, how many parents, whatever. And she said, final decision, she says, we take their picture and put it up against your family picture and see if you match.
Wow, no kidding.
And I went, oh, but Marie really doesn't look like us.
She looks the most like you.
She has your eyes.
You know, every once in a while we joke that Marie had said when she was very younger, she said, I want a bigger nose. I need a bigger nose. And I said, why? She said, I don't look like a Kraemer.
Wow, zing. That is great.
That's funny.
But yes, the hurdles can be very daunting and almost, I mean, they can almost be debilitating because you do start to question, do you really want this, God? Do you really want us to adopt? And I actually tell people when, you know, if I mentor anyone who's adopting, I always say, you cannot let every hurdle discourage you. Otherwise, you will never make it through this process.
That's one of the things that's unique about adopting is like with biological child rearing, like it happens and then it just is on. There's no more decision making going on there. You're just caring for that child and keeping along, but the decision is one and done, right? Here it's a continuous decision that you're making, like, gosh, this is a lot, but let's push forward. So how old are the other girls now at this point?
Marie's 23 and Rose is 20.
Okay. And Marie was 1, you said, when she was
1.
and how old was Rose?
Almost 2.
Almost 2. Okay. So what have been some of the beautiful graces of adopting your daughters?
Oh, just the wonder of seeing God's hand
Mm.
bring uh, bring two families together in a
Mm,
sense.
mhm.
There's a beautiful Chinese tradition that there's a red thread that connects the child to the family.
Mm.
And there's a book by Grace Lynn that depicts this called The Red Thread. But it just that the thread ravels its way throughout the whole world and brings you together. And
Beautiful.
that makes me think of course, an umbilical cord.
Mm. Yes.
It really
Mhm.
does.
Yeah.
That, you know, God can connect us any way he wants. It doesn't have to be through an actual umbilical cord.
Right.
It can be through a spiritual one. And yeah, so like the Chinese have all of their own traditional holidays, and one of them's the Lunar New Year, and you're supposed to look at the moon. And but when I look up, I pray for her birth parents, their
Mm.
birth parents, each girl's birth parents. That gave her life,
Mhm.
them life. Yeah.
I assume that they do
Yeah.
not know who their birth parents are.
It'd be very, very difficult to find them back there, just the way things
Sure,
happen
yep,
in China,
yeah.
whatever. But yeah,
It's the same
and
for my
it's-
brother.
It's closed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
But yeah,
Largely.
for us, our hearts go out to those parents in
Mhm.
China for whatever reason they could not keep this child and abandoned them because both girls were abandoned
Mm.
by
Mhm.
the orphanages. Okay, and so we have incomplete stories of even that, and not sure what to know and to believe or whatever, but to find those parents and to grieve for them for what they went through of having to feel that they had to give their children up, had to give them up, and who knows where they were going to end up. And I still wonder today what they think about and what they pray about and
Mhm.
what they wonder is, what happened to our girls, where are they now? So I really have a sense um, of the loss and pain that the parents had,
Yeah.
their birth parents have, and not knowing where those girls ended up.
I love that what you were sharing too, Laurie, kind of on that idea, the red thread. Because like I said, we were attempting to adopt. Actually, it was a specific young girl that we were looking to adopt for a year and a half, and things fell through. Some of our other kids got sick, and also it looked like we weren't going to be able to adopt her because I know one of the things that they very strongly desire is that you don't adopt out of birth order. That usually the adopted child is the youngest, and she would not be. So for whatever reason, things fell through, but I still pray for this girl as my daughter every day. And like, there's a connectedness. She has no awareness. She has no idea that there was anyone looking to bring her into their home. And so there is that red thread that I think is for our family will only be revealed on the other side of the curtain, and yet it is that mystical bond that only in God's mind has it been crafted, right? So I think there is something. I mean, it's kind of like, I suppose the reality of the covenant. Like, we think of family relationships as being generally the fruit of biology, right? As generally like this is something that just is a natural progression. But the most foundational relationship in human society is that of marriage, which is not biological. It is a relationship that's forged deeply through choice, through selection. I mean, there's kind of a corollary there, I think, in terms of adoption, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, and even you
Yeah.
mentioned that red thread. We were talking a little bit about really being adopted children of the Father, right? There's that thread, and you said it's more of a spiritual thread almost, right?
Right.
And I think as children of the Father who have been adopted through Christ's
Yeah.
death and resurrection, and through His blood, the red thread, perhaps,
Right.
that we can really see that it's this gift of being chosen by the Lord, being really pursued by the Lord. And, you have to pursue when you're adopting. And Brad, you mentioned something too about we were talking outside about in like in ancient Rome, when somebody was adopted, that was more of a permanent choice than even the birth. Talk a little bit about
So
that.
I'm taking some classes with Father Boniface Hicks on spiritual direction. And he was mentioning this dynamic of adoption and the fact that we are adopted, into relationship with God, and that there can be a tendency sometimes to think as adoption as being less than, kind of the fruit of biological processes, right? And he said that actually it was the opposite in some ways in antiquity, where obviously the legal status was really what was important for the transferal of the name and legal rights and all that stuff. Like Jesus, we get his lineage of being a son of David through Joseph, who had no biological connection, right? It was kind of that adoptive status that absolutely worked in conformity with God's, not only God's design, but the prophecies he had given to Abraham and to David and so on. And the fascinating thing was that Father Boniface was talking about how in antiquity, parents had the right up to a certain point to disown their child because as their legal heir. But if they had adopted a child, they could not, because merely by the fact that they had chosen them intentionally solidified that. And so he was talking about the radical nature of how we have been adopted by God is like we've been chosen, irrevocably. And that there was something that I guess in all of this that we experienced like on a spiritual level as we're going through the practice of adoption, like was formative and informative of like our own relationship with relative to God. So for you guys, having dwelt with this and dealt with this on a deep level for decades now, how has it impacted your own spiritual life? I mean, no doubt there's been some reflection on the reality of adoption. What's that been like?
Oh yeah. You talk about
Oh, yeah.
adoption too. Yeah. Well, I've matured over the years in
Yeah.
more than one way.
Yeah.
Okay. And dealing with kids and dealing with your own children, but dealing with our adopted girls. Okay. They're not our flesh and bone. Okay. They don't inherit my qualities of always being on time and other things like that or whatever. So it's okay. So it's for me, it's okay. This is somebody different. This is somebody not that I have to be willing to work with in a different way than I have with my other children. Okay. So it's been a way to open me up more too. When you're reflecting on adopted children of God, okay, God opens that door up for us, okay, but it's the parents who bring them to the baptismal font for adoption and give them up, so to speak, to the Lord. And I was thinking about all those parents out there, the mothers especially, or whatever, maybe a crisis pregnancy, and all the pain and the sorrow and all the stuff that they go through to give a child up for adoption, not knowing exactly where they're going to end up. Okay. And we know that, we give them up for adoption to the Lord. We know where they're going to go. Okay. We have that bit of whatever, So immediately I went back to think of those the parents who are giving up a child. Okay. Whether it be in duress or whatever, all the pain and suffering that they're going through and the unknowing and whatever, thinking that, wow, we've got it made really by being adopted by God and being that whole process, whatever. And it just kind of opened that up, floodgates up for me to think, well, what about those our parents?
Yeah. How about you, Laurie?
I remember beginning to notice in the scriptures all of the references to adoption by God early on. And I think I noticed them partly because our oldest, Marie, started, wondering about her birth mother. What does my birth mother look like? And who is she? And why can't I see her? And so I began to think through that kind of pain that she was going through. And I started noticing in the scriptures, there's just so many references to you are adopted children. You are adopted by God. And so I began to tell her, God, he has your mother still. She's there. And one day I told her, look in the mirror and you'll know what she looks like. And that helped a lot, actually.
Yeah, did it?
Look in the mirror.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, she might look like me. But more also, I would just try and tell her that just like we're just truly a part of God's family, she's truly a part of our family. And including our name and everything that we do, we do for her in the same way. We the clothing and the food and the teaching, the education, all those, that's truly what family does, what parents do for their children. And so it's good and okay to wonder who is that? Who are those other people? And that's a good thing. But when you're adopted, you're going to have the beauty of both.
Sure,
You're
yeah.
going to have, just like we have, we're children of our parents, but we're also children of God.
You mentioned something about the parents who have to give up their children and the pain that goes with that. Just shifting just a little bit, you have two sons who are priests, and in a certain sense, there's a giving up there. You're giving up the opportunity of having grandchildren with them, but also encouraging them. Talk to us a little bit about that, kind of that the joy that comes from that as well, of offering up your sons to the church in the priesthood. Any thoughts on that?
It's been kind of a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we teased when Bishop Aquila ordained Father Matthew, whatever, and after the ceremony was over, I took his hand, shook it, and I said, "He's now your problem." He went, "I know." But too, it's you give them up. We, since it's Diocese of Fargo, we do an opportunity to see them, Father Tim and Father Matthew, fairly regularly, I guess. But to know that we've given them up for the family of God, their parishioners, their people that they serve or whatever, have really become their family. So they've got questions, they've got issues, they got problems, whatever. They'll come back. Hey, Mom,
Sure.
Hey, Dad, what do you do about this? Matt usually calls me with his mechanical problems, and and
When his unicycle breaks down.
yeah.
Father Tim, yeah.
But does he do that as well? Is he?
Yeah.
They both, because they both do unicycle, right?
Yeah. They're both characters in their
Yeah,
own
they
way,
are.
that's for sure. But it was like, okay, we're giving them up in some ways, but then we're sharing him with all of their parishioners and whatnot. And Father Matt infamously said one time, he said, "I don't think I could be married. I don't know if I could handle a wife." I said, "How are you going to be able to handle all those old ladies in your parish that are, never thought of that."
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. No, it's been a godsend. It's been a blessing though, too. It's been, to see them blossom in their roles as priests.
Yeah, I've never felt any suffering that there wouldn't be grandchildren from
Sure,
sons who become priests. I've always felt that having those parish families is just a beautiful gift, and it really is. I mean, people come up to us all the time that we don't know, and just tell us how happy they are to have a priest that
is
cares
so cool.
about them, and so you can't help but be overjoyed with that.
It seems like there's a sort of resonance of the same sort of experience in the various vocations. When you talk about the giving up with the priesthood, I was just back in my hometown this past weekend, and I got to spend some time with my daughter and my new son-in-law. They just got married in June. And it was kind of an interesting experience for me where, for all of my kids, I would give them all a blessing at night before bedtime and before I head off in the morning. And I just kind of realized, like, that's not my job with my daughter anymore. That's her husband's job now. And so kind of that handing off at the altar there on her wedding day was a giving up. And I suppose it speaks to the fact that everything, like, we have to hold it lightly, right? Loosely, like, ultimately they're all God's. And this beautiful dynamic of adoption really does speak to us, like, about how that is the sure, steady, solid relationship for every one of us, is like that we've been grafted into that divine relationship of our Heavenly Father. And there's just something so powerfully informative about that. I'm grateful that this is a reality, because I think it communicates something in the same way that religious communicates something to all of us about our eternal destiny, like that union with the divine, that wedded life. anyway, so just kind of musings there, but one of the things, Laurie, you had mentioned that you do mentorship with other couples that are in the process of adopting. What are some of the things that you would share with people as they're looking at adoption?
Sure. Well, I suppose it's obvious, or not always obvious, but you have to pray together and discern
Mm-hmm.
because, sometimes with adoption, it's different than you'd get pregnant and
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
Right.
and you just move forward with adoption. You have a lot of decisions to make, domestic or international, special needs or not, foster, adopt, or
Yeah,
just
right.
so many decisions. So you have to really pray together first. You probably have to find someone to, obviously you need an agency to help you to get your first steps. And in choosing that agency, you want to make sure that it's someone that you can work with, that can understand your desires and needs. You have to keep praying and see if the doors are opening and staying open. Like when you're talking about, it falling through,
Yeah.
there's a lot of suffering that
Yeah.
I'm sure you went through with that.
Absolutely. I mean, and I've
lot
had
of-
a child miscarried. It felt
Yeah,
somewhat like that.
like it, right?
know?
Yeah. So people go through a lot when the doors don't stay open.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Mm.
And there were times when I wasn't really sure. Yeah. Do you really want this, Lord? If you do, you're going to have to do some major shaking around because things are going badly. Like
Mhm.
our marriage license got rejected with our second adoption.
Really?
Yeah.
Not legit, huh?
I know.
Do
We've been-
better.
we've been married for 24 years.
Oh boy.
But I hadn't sent it back or gotten a brand new one from the courthouse, like one that had notarizing on it. I had used one from the last adoption.
Mm.
So the rejection
Shame
at the
on
last
you.
minute, it probably changed our adoption route by a year and a half.
Is that right?
Wow.
Seriously? So I felt like the door maybe was just
Yep.
totally shutting, but it wasn't. And we have our Rose, and we're so
Mm.
grateful for her.
Yeah.
But it was just so I tell people there might be huge obstacles. You
Mhm.
just don't know what they're going to look like. And sometimes, so you just have to keep praying and asking people for advice. And then once you do, you have your child and you're moving forward, then comes all of the learning, so much learning
Mm.
that you didn't know you were going to have to learn because it isn't exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Parenting, you think that you're going to parent the same way, but you
No.
can't
No,
completely.
you're right. Absolutely.
You cannot completely. The child will have some, need to learn how to fit into your family
Mhm.
in a different way. They'll have to learn to deal with questions and things that your other children didn't have to. They might have self-esteem problems that you have
Sure.
to learn to work with, or other, maybe some learning things that you have to sort of tease out, and you might not have had that experience before.
Sure.
Because your other children didn't have it or whatever.
Yep,
So, or you're a new parent, and so you have to be really patient with yourself, and practice a lot of restraint.
Mhm.
If the child says something very unfortunate, which most adoptive children
Almost
will.
certainly will,
I mean,
right?
your biological children do
Right,
too.
yeah.
Right.
But maybe you're not as sensitive to it
Mm-hmm.
as when your adopted children say
For sure.
things. Yeah. And so you have to practice a great deal of restraint so
Mhm.
that you don't say something back that would really hurt them, because they are feeling this, they have a lot of feelings going on from, I'm adopted and maybe I'm not as good or something like
Yeah.
that, even though you've always tried to project,
Yeah.
you mean everything in the world to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're born in my heart.
Yeah.
And
Those questions of identity are real.
They're
I
real.
mean, we
Yeah,
want to know
they're
our
very real.
origins.
Mhm. Yeah.
Where do
Yeah.
I come from?
So you have to become more sensitive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No matter what family you are, you have to
Yep,
be
for
very
sure.
sensitive to that.
Right.
Yeah, and we have to be aware too that unfortunately we may never know their birth parents or whatever.
Mhm.
And there's lots of different options out there this year. The open adoptions, where the birth parents are involved, whatever, closed adoptions and combinations thereof or whatever. So there's a lot of choices out there that might fit that particular couple. And for another couple is, we can't deal with that or don't want to deal with those issues with an open adoption and have mom or dad to deal with in the older years or whatever. So, but yeah, it's you got to go in with your eyes wide open.
Mhm.
It is such a unique or individualized call, right? I mean, we were dealing with that question of like, how much health problems can we handle and that sort of thing. And we got some friends that are in the process that had the same conversation. Whereas there's another couple that are friends of my parents from Park Rapids. I think he's like a country music star, and they have received a special calling from God that they adopt children that are about to die. They've
Mm.
adopted 17 children
Mm.
that they have
Beautiful.
been with
Wow.
them to their last
Wow.
days.
Oh
It's
my
like, oh,
goodness.
those are superheroes,
Mm.
They
you
are.
know? And it's like something that just, it chokes you up because
Wow.
there's such an expression of love there, right? And I think that's the reality in adoption.
It is.
It's like, they're born out of love. This
Mhm.
family is forged out of love and choice and selection. And there's something really glorious about that.
Wow.
I can't remember which of the kids said it, but we did, and I had told Laurie, hey, we should adopt. No. And you mentioned the kids. Oh yeah, and then we've got plenty of love to share. Let's do it. And I went, okay.
Yeah.
And then we get home with Marie, and it wasn't too long after that. I look at Laurie, and I said, that wasn't so tough. Let's do it again.
It wasn't so tough. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was a couple of weeks later. She come back. You really serious about that? And I said, yeah, I am. And she
Mm.
said, well, let's give ourselves a couple of months. Let's discern whether we want to do that or not.
Wow. Wow.
And
I
as a
was
family,
scared of the paperwork, not
I
not,
understand.
not the raising of the child.
Yeah, I
but the
understand
paperwork.
totally. I understand totally. It is a labor of its own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And-
like I said, all these years ago, you tell me where I'm at today. No, God would never put me there, but He has.
Mhm.
He has.
And sometimes he does speak through the kids. I will say that a couple of our kids have started raising the question again
Have
about,
they?
yeah. So we'll have to see where the Lord's guiding for us in this process. But
Yeah.
I just think it's heroic. I applaud you guys. And no doubt it's borne fruits far greater than, and blessings far greater than what you ever would have anticipated, along with struggles and challenges and heartache. I mean, that's just
Yep.
parenting, right?
It is.
You don't have
Parenting.
any idea what you're signing up for in parenting. If we had known the pain and the misery, we never would have chosen it, except for we would never have known the delight and the wonder and the amazement. Like you can't calculate it, right?
Yeah, and that's where we need the prayers today for these young couples who go, no, we don't want to have kids. They're too expensive. Oh, they're too much of a hassle. Oh, they're
Yeah.
Yeah, one is so much. How can I have a second one?
Yeah.
Oh, it gets
Yeah.
easier as you
Yeah.
just tell them.
Yeah.
But open up, and just living a joyful life with a lot of kids and grandkids or whatever, and people seeing that, there's difficulties there
Mhm.
for sure, but the joy in the long term gains or whatever far outweigh all of the paperwork and the misguided
Mhm.
stuff and whatnot.
Amen.
It's all worth it.
Wonderful. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners?
If God lays it on your heart, go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a call.
It is.
Yeah, it's a calling, and
Wonderful.
Yeah.
it's definitely explore.
And the Lord's call is
And
never
be
one.
vulnerable. Yeah,
Yeah.
be vulnerable because
Mm.
it's a very
Yeah.
you're really opening up yourself to the Lord and modeling Him,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the adoption of us children, and
Yeah.
that we following His pattern.
Yeah. The Lord's call is never one that's just suffering. It's always one that's
Right.
aimed at fullness,
Mhm.
right? It may involve suffering,
Mhm.
but it's one that is intended to open our hearts to a capacity for love that we could not arrive at otherwise, right? So to have that sort of courage, perhaps in the response to in the face of the call.
Well,
Amen.
Phil and Laurie, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
stopping
Thank you
by
for
and
having us.
sharing your
Thank you
story
very
with
much.
us. Great conversation, Brad. Once again,
Steve.
thanks for being here.
Yeah.
All right, folks, this is our Sent podcast. We'll send it out to you. God bless.